Hey everybody, Kira here. I just had to uh, get on the YouTubes, the interwebs, and talk about something that I saw last night as I was going to bed and was just completely appalled by. And I couldn't even write about it. I had to talk to you guys directly about it. Please forgive the quality of this video. It just kind of haphazard threw it up. I don't have all the right lights up, but I wanted to talk to you guys. I had to get this out. I was so disgusted by what I saw. I think you guys probably by now have heard about the fuss over the Des Moines Register. Apparently, a young man named Carson King had a really cool story about holding up a sign at a football game asking for beer money, which was so clever and cute. And then Anheuser-Busch saw it and asked him to be a spokesperson. And they raised money for using his sign and using his clever idea for a children's hospital in Iowa. And Anheuser-Busch was really proud to partner with him to do that. It was a cool, fun little story. And the Des Moines Register reported on it. Well, I guess they just couldn't help themselves. And so also while they were reporting on this kid who did this neat thing, I guess they decided they had to dig back into his social media history for years and years and years and years and years, and then eventually they found some tweets that were inappropriate, and so Anheuser-Busch cut ties with him and basically, fired him from this great opportunity. And no one could figure out, well, most of us couldn't figure out why on earth the Des Moines Register thought it was a useful or even intelligent part of this story to include this man's tweets that he made when he was 16 years old in 2011. To add insult to injury, the reporter who ran the story, turns out he's got some not so great tweets in his past too. And while everyone was digging through his accounts last night and screenshotting everything, he was madly deleting things. And I think it's not the fact that people have unsavory things in their social media history. I mean, surely as this goes on longer and longer, we're all going to have something like that at some point. That's not it at all. I guess what is so incredibly stunning is just the breathtaking level of hypocrisy. The idea that this needed to be done, that this needed to be included in the story, knowing that you yourself have issues, that you yourself have questionable utterances in your past. But that's the thing, right? Here's the thing. This is the problem. And I'm going to assume that these people are left wing, and I know that that's making an assumption. And as the great Samuel L. Jackson once said in one of the best action movies of all time, you shouldn't make assumptions. It only makes an ass out of you and umption. So I'm going to make an ass out of umption and assume that most of these people are lefties. I just don't see a lot of people on the right thinking, oh, while we run this really cute story, also let's dig into this kid's past and see if he has any horrible tweets. I don't really see people on the right doing that. It doesn't make sense to me as somebody who is right of center. So I'm going to assume that these were lefties that did that. I'm going to assume that it was this reporter, actually. I don't even think he was assigned to do that. I think he just took it upon himself to do it. But the editorial board backed him up on it. They backed him up. It's hard to imagine what was going through their mind, but the Des Moines Register very helpfully gave us a statement last night. So I'm going to read it. And I have to put on my reading glasses these days because I'm not as young as I used to be. You can probably tell by my face. Things are starting to fall. Aging is hard, y'all. All right, here's what the executive editor of the Des Moines Register, Carol Hunter, says. Some of the toughest decisions in journalism are about what to publish or not. I mean, already it's like, really? Some of the toughest decisions in journalism is whether or not to publish a tweet? Okay, Carol, already this tells me Carol takes herself way too seriously. People around the nation have been captivated by the heartwarming story of Carson King, the 24-year-old Iowan who whose handmade game day sign asking for beer money prompted hundreds of dollars in donations. And then, when he decided to donate the money to Stead Family Children's Hospital, hundreds of thousands of donations poured in. On Monday evening, Register reporter Aaron Calvin was assigned to interview King for a profile. On Tuesday, as he worked to write the story, he did a routine background check on King that included review of publicly visible social media posts, a standard part of a reporter's work on a profile. Calvin found 2 racist jokes that King had posted on Twitter in 2012. Calvin asked King about them and he expressed deep regret. I can't even believe she wrote this. I can't even believe that she is a professional editor and she actually wrote that this happened as a part of a routine background check. What's the routine background check? Those jokes were posted in 2012. It is 2019. By the way, Aaron Calvin has a ton of horrible tweets. You didn't do any background checks on Aaron Calvin before you hired him. A background check on a 24-year-old man going all the way back to 2012? A background check on a 24-year-old man who held up a sign at a football game. Are you frigging kidding me? You people should be ashamed. You should be embarrassed. I cannot believe Carol Roth calls herself a professional. This is utterly embarrassing. It's utterly embarrassing to my profession. I am the editor-at-large for redstate.com, and there is no damn way I would ever let one of my writers do this. I would never let one of my writers pull this shit. No way. I will be like, you don't do a background check into a man's teenage years. There's a reason why we don't let the criminal records of teenagers follow them into adulthood. That's the law. There's a reason for that, because teenagers can't really be held to the same standards as adults. They're not fully developed. By the way, Mr. King said that those were jokes from a popular comedian at the time, Daniel Tosh. So he was just quoting somebody else. But regardless, even if he was making the racist jokes, at 16, I mean, Carol, really? Is this the standard you're going to hold everyone to? I'm really looking forward to the Des Moines Register's, investigative reporter team. They're going to have to hire like 50 people, because imagine all the background checks they're going to have to do on every single story, on every single person they talk about. Man, that's a lot of work, Carol. You've set up a lot of work for yourself. Gee, I hope you don't get crushed under all that paperwork. It'd be a shame. Okay, so let's move on. That prompted a discussion involving several Register editors about how best to proceed. I mean, honest to God, a discussion. They had a discussion about this. The discussion should have ended at, no, we don't include tweets from people that they made when they were a teenager in a feel-good community story. Absolutely not. We do not background check into innocent civilians going all the way back to 2012 when all they did was raise money for a children's hospital. Absolutely not. Canceled. Give this story to another reporter. That's the discussion that should have been had. But anyway, apparently at the Des Moines Register, they don't have much to do. So this was they had a whole discussion about this. So, about how best to proceed. Should that material be included in the profile at all? No! No! The jokes were highly inappropriate. Oh my God, a 16-year-old making a highly inappropriate joke? For heaven's sake. Well, call the military in. I'm shouting. I know. I don't have volume control, but this really got under my skin, both as an editor, as a professional reporter, and as a mother. It hit all my pressure points. You know what I'm saying? All right, let's go back. The jokes were highly inappropriate and were public posts. Oh, public posts. Oh, the 16-year-old made them public. I see. So that means they're fair game. He made them public. I mean, God forbid a 16-year-old didn't know how to set his privacy settings in 2012. Gosh, if only Carson King had had the foresight to think that he might be doing a good deed one day, and then somebody like Aaron Calvin might dig back into his tweets and his Facebook and dig up the stupid ass stuff he posted at 16. I guess he was just too dumb to know. So they had this discussion. Apparently they asked themselves some questions. She says, Should that material be included in the profile at all? No. The jokes were highly inappropriate. So, shouldn't that be acknowledged to all the people who donated money to King's cause? No. Or were planning to do so? No. The counter arguments. The tweets were posted 7 years ago when King was 16 and he was remorseful. So should we chalk the post up to a youthful mistake and omit the information? Yes! Yeah! Yes! Eventually, Register editors decided we would include the information, but at the bottom of the story, we thought we would be transparent about what we found, but not highlighted at the top of the story as a separate story. It was planned as a few paragraphs toward the bottom of the profile, a few paragraphs on social media posting from a 16-year-old in 2012. A 16-year-old who turned into a 24-year-old man who was so generous, he helped raise $1 million for sick kids. The hypocrisy and the arrogance of this is absolutely stunning. And Carol Hunter should be ashamed. I'm embarrassed to be a part of her profession, to be honest. I shall continue because there's more. But the decision about how to use this information was preempted when King held a news conference to discuss his tweets and express his remorse. So he kind of beat them to the punch. The poor guy had to have a news conference about his friggin' Twitter timeline from when he was 16 years old. Cancel culture is a friggin' cancer. I'm trying really hard not to cuss here. The news conference was covered by local television stations, which first reported on the racist posts and King's remorse. After those stories aired, Busch Light's parent company announced it would honor its pledge to the Children's Hospital, but it would sever future ties with King. That happened before the Register published its profile of King, which was still in the editing process. It's still your fault, Carol. It's still your fault. And Aaron's fault. So please save your excuses. King also posted a statement on Facebook, basically apologizing. Reasonable people, this is how Carol Hunter, the executive editor of the Des Moines Register, ends her statement. Reasonable people can look at the same set of facts and disagree on what merits publication. But rest assured, such decisions are not made lightly and rooted in what we perceive to be the public good. And isn't that the whole problem with the media these days? You guys think that you know what's good for the public. You guys think you get to dictate to the rest of us what's good for us to know, and what's not good for us to know. Reasonable people, Carol, excuse me, but shove it up your butt. No, the reasonable people in that room didn't get their voice. Because if that room was full of reasonable people, we wouldn't even be having this discussion right now. It's completely unreasonable. How did this discussion go, Carol? What did it look like? I'm wondering, you guys, should we post this tweet from this guy? I mean, he did a really good thing and he raised money for kids and sick kids, and that's so awesome. And gosh, aren't we always complaining every day about how Americans don't do good things for each other? Do you think we should include this dumb, inappropriate tweet he made when he was 16? Don't people need to know? Well, Carol, I don't know. We all do a lot of dumb things when we were 16. And by the way, have you even thought about why Aaron thought it was okay as a part of a routine background check to dig into a man's tweets from almost a decade ago? I think that's besides the point. I think people will want to know if this guy's a racist. I mean, what if he's a conservative? We don't want to be giving good coverage to that guy, do we? Well, Carol, you have a point. I too hate conservatives and right-wingers and anyone that I think might vote Trump, but I'm a professional and I just don't think this is a good idea. Duly noted. Publish. I'm about to have a stroke here. I'm about to stroke out. Cancel culture is a freaking disease and it needs to be eradicated. Carol Hunter, You should be embarrassed, and everybody's been coming for you on Twitter all night last night and still today, as they should. People should put your name on blast. Everyone in the country should know your name so that they know not to hire you. You are not one of the reasonable people you talk about. I hope, to me, this statement tells me that there was someone in the room who thought this wasn't a good idea. And I really hope that that someone today is walking around your office smugly. And I hope they even got to say, I told you so a couple of times. That you ever thought that this would be a good idea is beyond me. I can only imagine that it is somehow connected to your politics, because that's the only thing that makes people so crazy these days. You know what I mean? Like, our politics have just become so insane, and we've been so committed to being right instead of just being thoughtful. I can only imagine that somehow Carol's politics have seeped into this really good and positive and uplifting story. Forget about Aaron Calvin, who should never work again as a reporter, by the way. I would never hire you, Aaron Calvin. Not that you would come work for me. Well, you shouldn't get work anywhere. Honestly, you really shouldn't. And I know that sounds cruel, because I know a lot of us. I've heard a lot of people who think like me saying, well, it's not, two wrongs don't make a right. And just because the cancel culture weirdos on the left do this doesn't mean that we should have to do this. But I didn't make these rules. You did. The ball is in motion. It's just physics now. So frankly, no, I don't think Aaron Calvin should ever work anywhere again, because he has this in his past. And his tweets, his very problematic tweets, have already been screenshotted. He tried to erase them. He locked his account. What a damn hypocrite. Carson didn't even get that. He didn't even get that courtesy. He didn't even get that courtesy to go back and erase the things that he didn't feel good about. Damn hypocrites. I hope Aaron Calvin never works again. I hope every time he tries to apply for a job somewhere that someone looks up this incident and says, well, we were just doing a routine background check. And Aaron's not very professional. And Carol Hunter should be fired. Everybody that allowed this to happen should be fired at the Des Moines Register. The Des Moines Register should be canceled. Honestly. Because it's the only way. It's the only way to make these people see the ridiculousness of their mindset. And by these people, I just mean anyone who participates in cancel culture, which is what Carol Hunter did. I assume she's an adult, but these are not the utterances of an adult. This is a woman who is bitter about something. And, she didn't even have the decency. She didn't even have the decency to say, we probably shouldn't have subjected an unsuspecting kid like Carson to this. We shouldn't have. We should have just ran the story. And then if people want to go find him and dig through his tweets to 2012, then great. That's the thing, right? That's the thing about this whole media mess. This fake news. Yes, if anything proves that the mainstream media is the enemy of the regular people in this country right now, it's this story. Could you be any more of an enemy to a guy like Carson King, just a normal guy asking for beer money and turned it into something great? Isn't that the American dream? Isn't that a great American story? And you turned him into an enemy. You turned him into a Nazi. The Des Moines Register should be canceled. Everybody that works there should be canceled. This is pathetic. I hope that you guys pay the price for this. I hope people start canceling their subscriptions. As a matter of fact, if you have a subscription to the Des Moines Register, I suggest you cancel it. You can always, you could always resubscribe when Carol's gone and when her ilk are gone from the paper. It doesn't have to be forever. But for sure, make your voice heard. If you don't want to cancel, that's cool too. I'm not a big fan of boycott. But I do think you should at least call Carol or send her an email or hit her up on Twitter. She's at Carol Hunter on Twitter. And she's a blue check, so she should be easy to find. Same with Aaron Calvin, but he's protected his accounts now. Yeah, because it turns out that it's mean when people come for you on the internet. It's pure narcissism. It really is. Nothing ever happens to these people. Nothing ever happens unless it happens to these people. So cancel culture isn't cruel. It's just being a reasonable reporter until it happens to you. And then it's not fair. I don't know anything about Carson King. He could be the world's biggest jerk. I have no idea. That's not the point. It's not my business to know about Carson King. And if I want to, I'll go find it myself. And isn't that the problem? You think that you're the ones who can tell me what I need to know. You don't trust the American citizen to dig for the own information that they want. Or if they just want to read your story and believe it, and go on with their day. You don't even trust that. You think you gotta hand feed everybody like everyone else is a baby and you're the adult in the room. There are no adults in the room at the Des Moines Register. There are no adults in the room in cancel culture, and I think the left has pretty much purged themselves of most of their adults by this point. Pull it together. It's pathetic. Carol Hunter, you should be embarrassed. I hope everybody, I hope Carol don't have kids. I really doubt she has kids because I can't imagine a mother printing something like this. I really can't. Not a mother of teenagers. But let's just hope that Carol doesn't have kids. Because gosh, wouldn't we just hate to have to subject them when they're going through their job hunting process. We'd hate to have to subject them to a thorough background check when they graduate college or when they find that dream job. That'd be a damn shame. Carol Hunter, you're pathetic. You should be fired. The Des Moines Register should be canceled. And cancel culture is a sickness. Y'all should be ashamed of yourselves. It's disgusting.